Hey guys, and welcome back to another Factorio Friday Facts number 216, and I am joined this week by Scarhoof.
Hello, everyone.
So, you're back from Vegas.
I'm back, baby.
Did you have a good time?
Oh, yeah. It was fantastic.
Nice. Very nice. So, this one is not extremely interesting, at least not to me. But, I mean, there's some interesting stuff. It's just not super eventful.
Yeah, and it's not really stuff for us, per se. Like, it's not new content. So,
Yeah, unfortunately. It's mostly just background information. But yeah, so paving a path for the GUI update. So I think 1 or 2 Friday Facts ago, they talked about doing a GUI update. And Kovrex writes this, and I'm going to just pretty much do a huge summary. Essentially, he just explains like what the GUI was way back in the day, and then kind of how he and then the team advanced into like different methods of doing it, into better methods of doing it. And yeah, so essentially, just back in the day when Factorio started, he was clueless. It needed a GUI loop library for Allegro, and a GUI was the only one he could find, so he started using it. And then essentially, it kind of looked something like this. Like if you opened up a stone furnace, you'd have like your source, your result, the fuel, and then your inventory here. And it says the look and positioning was quite random. And then,
oh yeah,
yeah, so then kind
that's a
of,
beauty. But let me tell you, those transport belts are just looking awesome.
oh yeah, these things are so good. And the circuits, super great. The chests, I love the chests.
Interestingly,
They're
the
like
iron is basically the same, isn't it?
the what?
The iron plate is pretty much the same.
Essentially, yeah,
Yeah,
which is
everything else is
interesting.
like way different, but the iron chest really looks the same. And that steam engine, you can definitely see the steam engine was pretty similar.
I'm not even seeing a steam engine.
Down at the bottom, the one with the
Oh, that
one
one.
on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's these chests are really funny. They remind me of some like I don't know,
Role- RPG game,
yeah,
like a role playing game
RPG
or something
like
like that. Yeah.
Maple Story or something.
Hmm.
But so yeah, so the previous strategy stopped being possible quite soon. We realized that we couldn't manually place widgets in a window, so we started to use the layout functionality so it doesn't break immediately once it contains just a little bit of information. So this is kind of what it looked like way back in the day. Like if you open Assembler, you could see what it took and then what you got in your inventory. Um, and then we go down to version 5, which was still a very long time ago. Um, you can see it is quite a bit more developed, and kind of this whole paragraph summarized is that this is when it kind of started taking on the look of what we see now, like the grayish and just the general layout.
Hmm.
So, they needed to add hierarchical graphical style system, be able to control the looks and positioning. They also need to add several additional functions to the layout mechanism as the need to make these two windows have the same height automatically and similar things. You can see just kind of like the little arrows about the distance and stuff. And then it's actually also interesting, like if you compare, like putting the GUI itself aside, if you compare back then the amount of technologies that compared to what we have now,
Oh yeah, yeah.
we have like probably like 4 times the amount now.
Hmm.
It's pretty crazy to see the progress they've made with that. So then they say here, for example, the progress bar was style was specified to have a somewhat correct width, and we didn't even care or understand how bad it is. So it looked like kind of like a locked width here. You can see that like there's like a way bigger gap on the right side than on the left side,
Yep.
which does look kind
What
of
is up with
funny.
that stone furnace graphic? I don't even remember that stone furnace graphic.
I think that was still in like 0.5 or something. I didn't play until I think 0.8.
Yeah.
So that was way before. I actually really like that stone furnace graphic.
Yeah, yeah, it's really steampunky kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm actually a big fan of that one. Actually, almost more so than the one we have now, actually looking at it.
Yeah, yeah, because you can see them both on the screen there.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
other one looks really cool. So then moving on to version 6. So that's, when they needed to improve things even more. So they allowed these to be, the progress bars to be stretchable. And then that didn't affect like the spacing on either side of the GUI, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and then the current day is some hacks here and there were accumulated. when you stretch it out and set a line to right doesn't work. Just set layout to go from right to left. So they've kind of just put in like hacks and workarounds to get things to work with the GUIs. And then they kind of go into new people started joining our team and they didn't know the subtle things you need to push to make it work, and a lot of new code was created with even more hacks. The GUI started to be a crazy complex beast.
Hacks on hacks.
Yeah, hacks on hacks, always great. At that time, one of the new programmers wanted to fix some of the hacks. The result was that he wanted to fix everything, and after 9 months of repeated inability to show anything, he was fired.
Yikes.
Ruh-roh. So after that time, GUI was considered even more scary. So they kind of show a code example here of what used to appear in there in desperate hopes of making it work. And then some people have even shown their disgust by naming their variables, which is awesome.
I hate GUI. Yep.
I hate GUI, yeah. So that's really great. And then the GUI refactoring, we're physically need to make the GUI update. First part was presented in one of the recent Friday Facts, linked here. At this point, you have some idea of how painful it would be, would be needed to add additions to the current GUI. This is why we decided to roll up he decided to roll up his sleeves and just dive in. I started rewriting and clean up the core parts of how the layout works. So at this point, he has a branch that has 52,000 lines of changes compared to master, and the internet, which is a ton.
Yeah,
that is a lot of code. But also something cool here is that essentially to aid the GUI simplification work, we created a simple GUI debug view to let us quickly see how layouts are stacked. I will leave it in the game as it could be useful for modders when they need to debug their GUI structures. So I'm assuming that this right one with the like red around it is the debug thing.
Yeah, that's what that looks like. And probably accessible through the F5 menu.
Yeah, which is actually really cool. That should help some modders, like the ones that add like a bajillion different items and stuff, to maybe make them a little more structured.
Yeah, it is interesting though that like so the fuel slot doesn't seem to be the bar next to the fuel doesn't seem to be its own entity.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that you'll ever have a recipe where your fuel actually turns into something else, but it's possible, maybe? I don't know.
Maybe? Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I think mostly it's because the fuel bar itself, like the potential size of it, never really needs to change.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a constant. But yeah, so essentially on top of that, he started to write GUI tests, as the GUI layout is a great example of pieces of software where fixing one thing breaks some other without you knowing. These changes will also change the way modders specify GUI structures, mainly related to the align and stretching, but it wouldn't be us if we didn't break mod compatibility in a new release. So that's always good news. I feel bad for the modders. But
it sounds like it'll all be good in the long run, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Because especially with like Bob's mods, you end up with some weird GUI things. Things don't overlap properly.
Yeah.
This should help going forward.
Most definitely. So not like super thrilling. I still want my artillery teaser or 016 information at all would be great.
Yes.
But this is good to know that this will be at least a nice thing in the future. But I think that's it. Do you have anything else?
No, nothing else.
All right, guys. Check out the forum discussion here, the subreddit discussion. Leave your comments down below as well. We're always interested in those. And we will see you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.